Mundine, who is obviously my favourite. So Warren, tell us what you're doing now. So you had a little bit of excitement there where you had a run.
Yeah, well, the politics is over now.
Yeah,
I've got out of the fetal position off the floor and a lot of drugs and alcohol, and that got me back. Therapy, it's all got me back into business. So that's what I'm focusing on at the moment is how we're working with a number of Native American groups in the defence sector and working with them about
Native American.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
There's groups over there that were ex-Marines and that, and they're doing a lot of contracts with the United States Defence Department.
Yeah.
And now there's a lot of they're going to spend a lot of money in Australia over the next few years. So what we're working on is about how we can leverage that experience they got and create some good Indigenous defence contracting businesses here.
Fantastic. And you've already made some inroads on that, haven't you?
Yes.
Yeah. So tell us about what you've already got in place.
Well, what we've done in place is we've set up this electronics company because it's very rare to find Indigenous people out there with that electrical engineering, electrical trade background in that. And so we've been doing a number of Defence Force contracts already, and also we're doing commercial contracting at the moment. So it's been an incredible growth period. We're picking up something like $200,000 to $300,000 a month.
Yeah.
And it's just growing and growing and growing. And so we're at this stage now about how we manage that growth so it doesn't get too crazy for us.
Yeah, because you always want to maintain your quality and manage it properly. Right. And how are you finding at summits like this, there's always usually a lot of talk about electricity, energy and things like that, and industrial relations.
Yes.
So do you find that those are your key struggles in terms of pricing of energy?
Yes, it is. Energy is a major issue for Australia, and it is quite frankly crippling small businesses and that because of the enormous amount of cost that goes into it, especially for regional and remote Australia. That cost is really slowing down growth, and we've got to really, the government's really on all sides have got to sit down and actually work through a proper energy policy, because at the moment we're not getting the investment, we're not getting the growth that needs to be put in that area to deal with all these, for us to take up the opportunities that are there for us. But that is a huge problem. Some of the industrial relations area now, one of the problems we're having is in mature age apprenticeships. That's anyone over 21, 22.
Yep.
And we've got to pay straight away. We've got to pay them full trade wages.
Yeah.
And so that's a bit of an issue. So we're having negotiations with the government at the moment about how we can fix that area, because we find that mature age apprentices, in their 20s and early 30s, and that they're actually very good and very committed to working and we're getting good positive outcomes. But it's really hard for businesses to take them on because of that extra expense.
So you're looking for subsidisation of those workers?
Yeah, that's what we're looking at, because as they're coming into the workforce, yes, the business will pay their first year, second year, third year, fourth year salaries, and happy to do that, but we need to have that subsidy to top up to the full trade wages.
And I think that's even been identified as an issue when you're looking at apprentices that are starting after finishing year 10 as opposed to finishing year 12. There's a big difference between paying a 16-year-old apprentice and an 18-year-old apprentice. So I think that's, taken to the next level with you, but even this compulsion that, suddenly everyone does year 11 and 12.
Well, one of the saddest jobs I had was in the past was actually we were doing gas pipeline construction work. We're importing most of our tradies from overseas because we didn't have it. We use skills shortage in Australia in this area. So it is about refocusing about education. Now, in my time, you left in year 10, or in those days, 4th class, and going back to the Stone Age there, but and went into a trade at 16, and by the time you're 20, you finish your trade.
And proudly so.
Yeah, and we had an incredible system in that. So we've got to refocus on education in regard to. We don't all have to go to university. Yes, we need to have these university-educated people for help us in our technology advances and everything that needs to happen. but the biggest shortfall is in the trades area, so we need to be actually sexing up trades.
Yes.
And so, might have to,
And
walk out there and put on my sexy high-vis outfit and try and get people to get...
Do you have a sexy high-vis outfit?
Yeah. Yes, I do.
But I think also, I do think there's this whole huge elephant in the room when we talk about everyone being obliged to do year 11 and 12.
Yeah.
Because, the shortage of skills is not in people who've got arts degrees, it's in people who have trade qualifications.
That's correct. And so but we can still have tradies go for the year 11 and 12, but why don't we start their trades in that year 10 period,
Yes.
and go forward. So I think that's a great idea. So you've already finished your first 2 years of your trade on that, and then they can just go on from there. So there's many ways to skin a cat. So bringing trades into the education system, the school system, training people, start kicking them off and training them there, and then we can then move on.
Yeah, and we can speak to Michaela Cash about that later on when she drops in. So opinion on people going into politics was? Yes or no?
You need therapy, I think. Look, it's
Before and after.
I think you need to listen to people before you go in.
Yeah.
No, look, politics are important. It creates the environment for business to survive or cripple.
Yes.
And we need to have people putting up their hands and going into it. But don't go into it naively. It is a very tough game. It's more tougher than business, I can tell you.
Yeah.
And good. I always congratulate people who are willing to put their hand up and have a go.
Yes. All right. Well, thank you very much, and
And thanks for talking.
enjoy the rest of the day.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.